The Fujifilm X100VI, one of the most sought after cameras ever made, with said to be over 500,000 pre-orders in China alone. But here are a few reasons why this camera might not be for you. The first reason is because this camera is still very hard to get. Because of the popularity of the X100V, the previous model, Fujifilm decided to start making this in China so that they can make more units, but it's still very hard to get. But I was very lucky and I got this on the day of release. And I know there are a lot of people who actually ordered this on the day of launch and they still have not gotten their hands on this. So try and order it. If you can get it, there are other options out there. Which brings me to number 2. The second is that this camera is actually still pretty expensive. This camera cost 2160 Canadian, which is around $15.99 US dollars. For that price, there are cheaper cameras out there, especially once you step into the second-hand market. One camera right off the bat is the X-T5. It pretty much has the exact same features. The size of it is a bit bigger and it has an interchangeable lens, so you do have to spend additional money on a lens. And with that camera, you are way more versatile with different lenses and it's a more professional camera than this camera itself. The third reason is the battery life. The battery life is still not that great on this camera, given you can still take 300 or 400 photos depending on how you use it. But this camera battery is not the Fuji's greatest camera battery, and it can do a lot better if they just switch it up a bit, but they choose not to. Fourth reason is there's only one memory card slot. So if you're paying for this price already for a camera, like I mentioned, if you're getting the X-T5, there is at least dual card slots, so you do have a backup and you can really use it professionally. Whereas this one, there's only one card slot and you might be a little worried that what if your images get destroyed in the memory stick or anything. The fifth reason is this is not a vlogging camera. A lot of cameras around this size or a little bit smaller, they tend to be vlogging cameras so that people can just easily do like selfies and stuff. Whereas this one, you cannot flip out the screen. That limits you to being a vlogging camera, and also because this fixed lens is only 23mm, which is equivalent to 35mm, and it's actually not wide enough to do vlogging. The sixth reason is because this camera gets scratched pretty easily. So if you're like me and you baby your camera a lot, which I do, you feel pretty disappointed at how easily it is scratched. One is because it's so easy to transport around this camera that I can just put it in my pocket and I can go. But then once you do that so often, then it starts getting scratched up easily. So you really have to be careful about that. And some people might not like their camera so scratched up. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed. I do see a few scratches here and there, a little dent. But then to me at the same time, it feels like, okay, this is just my journey with this camera. So if you're fine with it, yeah, but that's just something I'd like to mention. If you already have the X100V, you might not consider getting this because other than a bit more megapixels and IBIS and a new film simulation, this is pretty much the same thing as before and it's a little bit bigger than your X100V. So if you're using the X100V already, you're already used to not having IBIS and you're already used to 26 megapixels, and if you're just posting your photos online on social media, this is pretty much not needed. Another thing is if you love taking photos vertically, this camera might not be for you because of how easy it is to take photos horizontally because of the tilt screen, and it limits you not being able to tilt vertically. I noticed 80% of my photos have become horizontal because of this camera. I don't mind it, but I tend to like taking photos more vertically, but I'm getting used to using this. So if you only like taking photos vertically, this camera is definitely not for you. Last but not least, the stress of finding the right accessories for you just so that this camera is more customizable to your taste. And you also have to know that the price tag of which you pay for this camera is not the only thing. Because it's so customizable, you'd want to spend more money, probably an extra $100 or $200 just to redesign it, just so that it's more your style. And also, you have to get an external adapter just so that you can put the filter onto this camera so that you can make this camera weather resistant. Unless you're saying you only take the camera out on sunny days, you will have to get that adapter. For example, this JJC lens hood, you will have to get this lens hood just to attach a filter on top. So like I said, you will have to spend more money than what you're originally paying for. And a lot of people tend to like the style of how this looks, how retro it looks. So they will probably make it more retro looking, including like the strap that they will get. And that probably costs another $100 or $200 more. So just know that the $2,200 Canadian or the $1,600 US you're gonna be spending, you probably have to add more money to it, most likely. Anyway, these are just a few reasons why I think this camera might not be for you, but I did make another video giving you reasons why you should get this camera, and it's just in the corner, one of these corners. Thanks, and I'll see you guys next time.